Okay, I got it.
You're killing everybody here. This is supposed to take 3 minutes.
Shut up.
Is it recording?
Can you see me?
Yes. Go.
Alright. I want to thank you all for coming out and listening to my speech. Today, I'm going to talk about the famine and drought that's going on in Africa right now. It's famine, neglect, suffering, and death. That's pretty much what's going on there. All these words are strong, but their message is stronger. There's about 13 million people in the Horn of Africa right now fleeing the areas, the surrounding areas, Somalia, and those type of areas. They're all fleeing into Kenya causing overpopulation. It's really upsetting because the news, you don't really hear about it on the news. It's not really getting covered at all. They're just sweeping under the rug. There's more important things apparently going on that just aren't as important. It's good to have a lot more attention brought to it, but it's not getting the attention it deserves. First thing I want to talk about is I'm going to discuss famine in general, explain it, and break it down in detail and go through the history of it. The second thing we'll talk about is when I elaborate more on the current famine that's going on in Africa right now. And the third thing is what aid organizations and what possibilities there is to help these people in their time of need. First thing is famine is the widespread scarcity of food. This phenomenon is usually accompanied by starvation, malnutrition, disease, and other type of pandemic that go along with that. One of the examples of the history of famine is when Nazi Germany invaded the USSR and they cut off all the supply lines to the USSR and starved them out during the middle of winter when there was no time or possibility of them being able to supply themselves with food. We get her. This famine caused about 13 million deaths in the USSR. The next one was another big one. Was in China. It was the Great Leap Forward. China's economic policies pushed forward the revolution of technology while leaving farming and agriculture behind. This gap, separation between the two technologies, led to a sufficient amount of starvation and widespread food decrease that caused deaths of close to 35 to 40 million Chinese. It's expected higher, but it's not really recorded. So that's just a little history of famine, what it is and how it's going. Some of the causes of famine is poor planning, obviously. Drought, that's a big one. Poverty, if you can't afford to feed yourselves, what are you going to do? And that's it. Disease is another one. Disease of the crop. Alright, and now we'll talk about the famine that's going on right now in Africa. There's close to 12 million people in the Horn of Africa right now that are at risk, and by the UN's estimation, the area is growing in size every 4 to 6 weeks. The average rainfall for the past 5 years has decreased 30% from what it was previously. That's a serious issue when you can't afford grain, and the only thing to feed your livestock is the vegetation that's actually growing itself. A poor rainy season, the last one was extremely poor, and has led to the rising grain prices. If you can't afford the grain to feed your cattle, there's nothing you can do. You just let them sit out, starve to death, and they die along with your food production. Refugees are running away from East Africa to the west part, as it's been the worst in 60 years. Tens of thousands have died so far, and the death toll is expected to reach 750,000 by the time this year is over. There's UN estimates that some of the reasons that it's still so bad right now than it could be is lack of aid from other countries, lack of resources, and lack of possibility of getting out there. One of the biggest things that are going on right now is the lack of access to feed the people, because Islamist militant groups are blocking trade, blocking supply routes, and taxing whatever they take from the United Nations, and they take their share of it, which a lot of they sell to the black market. They sell for weapons, ammunition, and bombs and stuff like that. and so not very much food actually gets down to the people themselves. Another big thing that's happened out there was, it seems like it'd be a good thing, but it's actually really bad, was the increased amount of precipitation. It got really rainy, and it wiped out a lot of their makeshift homes they had for going to these refugee camps. It took out all their homes, increased, there was a lot of water stagnant up. So East Africa is really bad for malaria. So the stagnant water led to the increased reproduction of mosquitoes, and therefore led to the increased amount of waterborne pathogen and illnesses and waterborne disease that did add to the deaths that are already taking place. That's the breakdown of that. Things you can do to help: Red Cross, UNICEF, all that. Those are all good. UNICEF and Red Cross, they help out other places like Chile during the earthquakes or Haiti during the earthquakes. I volunteered to go to the Horn of Africa as a deployment for a humanitarian mission, but they didn't want me, so there wasn't much I could do for that. You can spread the word. The news, like I said, is sweeping under the rug, and they're not really going over it too much. I donated a little bit to UNICEF. It wasn't much, but hopefully it was enough to feed a couple of children for a day. And that's all I really have to say about that. Once again, thank you for listening to my speech, and have a good day.